Ms. Carlin McQuilkin, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Home Affairs, Public Administration, Information and Disaster Management. Mr. Eric Falt, Regional Director for the Caribbean, UNESCO, and representative to Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Aruba, the Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, the British Virgin Islands, the Cayman Islands, Curacao, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Montserrat, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Martin, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago. Ms. Fiona Sandy, UN Country Coordinator for Grenada, UN Resident Coordinator's Office for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Mr. Jason Phillip, Director of Information, Government Information Service, Grenada. Ms. Keisha Jeleno, Secretary General, Grenada National Commission for UNESCO. Ms. Callistra Faria, President of the Media Workers Association of Grenada. Our participants in the room and online, representatives from government ministries and associations, government offices, media practitioners as well, staff of the Government Information Service. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Media and Information Literacy and Media Stakeholder Engagement Hybrid Workshop. I am Abigail McIntyre, Information Officer with the Government Information Service of Grenada, and it is my pleasure to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for today's proceedings. Today's workshop provides an important opportunity for us to examine the role of media and information literacy in strengthening our ability to access, evaluate, create, and responsibly share information in an increasingly digital world. As we begin, I invite everyone to participate fully, share your experiences and perspectives, and make the most of this opportunity for learning, engagement, and collaboration. With that, it is my pleasure to officially welcome you to today's workshop and to begin our opening ceremony. Please stand with me as I invite Mrs. Ruth Jacob Roberts to open us in a word of prayer.
Good morning, everyone. Standing on protocol already established, can we just bow our hearts as we pray? Father, you are God of all the earth, and there is none like you. We thank you for this opportunity just to be here today. We declare that this is going to be a learning experience for all of us, because he who holds information also holds power. And as we understand this, as we engage together, learn together, we pray that your presence will be with us throughout these 2 days. Lord, we pray for the organizers. So much have gone into what we see here today, and we thank you for what you have already done. So we pray you bless everything that will be said and done. May, as we finish this engagement, may all of us leave here with a better attitude, better exposure to information that will allow us to be able to share responsibly, and also that will be able to grow and learn together. Bless us all together, and thank you so much for your presence. Lord, grant us your approval. In the words of Psalms 90, grant us your approval, Lord. May all our efforts succeed. Yes, Lord. May all our efforts succeed. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberts. You may have your seats. To officially welcome us to today's proceedings, we are pleased to have with us Ms. Keisha Jeleno, Secretary General of the Grenada National Commission for UNESCO. The Grenada National Commission for UNESCO plays an important role in advancing UNESCO's mandate and supporting initiatives that promote education, culture, communication, and information. Ladies and gentlemen, please join with me in welcoming Ms. Jeleno.
Thank you, Ms. McIntyre. Please allow me to adopt the protocol already established, and I wish you all a very good morning. Yes. It is my pleasure on behalf of the Grenada National Commission for UNESCO to warmly welcome you to this Media and Information Literacy and Media Stakeholders Engagement Workshop. This workshop is being implemented under the UNESCO Small Island Developing States Inclusive Initiative on Media and Information Literacy in the Caribbean, referred to as SIM-Caribbean. This initiative focuses on awareness raising and capacity building in the area of media and information literacy. This workshop comes at an important time. The way we access information, share, and consume information has changed rapidly, particularly in the growth of digital media and artificial intelligence. Information is now available to us almost in real time. While this provides tremendous opportunities, it also presents challenges, as we are increasingly confronted with misinformation and disinformation on a daily basis. We are therefore pleased to partner with UNESCO and the Government Information Service in bringing together stakeholders to share experiences, identify challenges, and explore practical ways to promote responsible, informed, ethical, inclusive, and resilient media and information practices in Grenada. Over the next 2 days, we will explore important issues, including journalism ethics and standards, access to information, the responsible use of AI in media, digital transformation, the role of youth government and the private sector, and many more important issues. I encourage you all to engage openly, share experiences, ask questions, and most importantly, identify practical opportunities for greater collaboration. We sincerely appreciate the support of our partners and the participation of all our presenters, panelists, and stakeholders who are contributing to this important initiative. Once again, I warmly welcome you and wish you all a productive, engaging, and meaningful 2 days. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Angelino, for those warm words of welcome and for setting the tone for what promises to be a productive day. We now move to our opening remarks, and our first speaker is Mr. Jason Phillip, Director of the Government Information Service of Grenada. GIS plays a central role in communicating government policies, programs, and initiatives to the people of Grenada, while also supporting the public's access to timely and credible information. Mr. Phillip brings valuable experience in this area of government communications and media engagement. So let's welcome Mr. Phillip.
Please allow me to stand on protocol already established. However, I would like to acknowledge in our presence our Permanent Secretary for the Ministry, PS Carolyn McQuilkin. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and participants of this workshop. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to Grenada and to the opening of the 2026 UNESCO Media and Information Literacy and Media Stakeholder Engagement Workshop. On behalf of the Government Information Services, I extend our sincere appreciation to UNESCO Regional Office for the Caribbean and the Grenada National Commission for UNESCO for the partnership and commitment in bringing this important initiative to Grenada. We are equally grateful to all of our local, regional, and international partners, panelists, and participants who have accepted our invitation to share their expertise over the next 2 days. This workshop represents far more than another conference on the calendar. It represents a shared commitment to preparing our societies for a rapidly evolving information landscape, one where technology is advancing at an unprecedented speed, where artificial intelligence is reshaping communication, and where the ability to distinguish credible information from misinformation has become an essential skill for every citizen. UNESCO has long recognized media information and information literacy as a cornerstone of democratic participation, sustainable development, and digital inclusion. Through the Small Island Developing States Inclusive Initiative on Media and Information Literacy in the Caribbean, which is dubbed as SIM Caribbean, UNESCO continues to support governments, media organizations, educators, and vulnerable communities in strengthening digital competencies, promoting ethical communication, and advancing inclusive media environments through our region. Grenada is proud to be one of the participating member states in this most important regional initiative. For the Government Information Service, this workshop aligns directly with our ongoing transformation as Grenada's national public communication agency. Our vision is to build a modern, resilient, and trusted public communication service that informs, educates, and engages citizens across every available platform, whether through television, radio, digital media, or emerging technologies. Our responsibility is to ensure that the government informs, remains accurate, accessible, timely, and is trusted. However, achieving that vision cannot be done by government alone. Media and information literacy requires collaboration between governments, journalists, educators, academia, civil society, and private sector, youth organizations, and international development partners. That collaborative spirit is reflected in the program just before us. Over the next 2 days, we will explore journalism ethics, responsible use of artificial intelligence, digital transformation, intellectual property, disability inclusion, gender equality, health reporting, culture, and multi-stakeholder engagements. These conversations have been intentionally designed to encourage practical solutions, stronger partnerships, and meaningful actions beyond this workshop. My hope is that every participant leaves this forum not only with new knowledge, but also with a renewed commitment. Commitment to professional excellence, commitment to ethical communication, commitment to critical thinking, and above all, commitment to ensure that every citizen has the skills necessary to navigate today's complex information environment with confidence and responsibility. I encourage you to engage fully in the discussions, ask questions, challenge ideas, and build relationships that will strengthen media and information literacy across Grenada and the wider Caribbean. Before I conclude, I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the dedicated planning team from UNESCO, the Grenada National Commission for UNESCO, and of course, our team at the Government of Grenada through the Government Information Service. And I want to shout out my deputy, Mrs. Shireen Thomas Isaac, for her undying and her very, very committed efforts in my absence while I am on vacation. So to Mrs. Thomas, on behalf of the GIS, thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your presence, your partnership, and your continued commitment to strengthen our media landscape. Thank you, and I wish you all a productive and rewarding workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillip. Our next speaker is Ms. Calistra Faria, President of the Media Workers Association of Grenada. As a representative of Grenada's media fraternity, Ms. Faria brings an important perspective to today's discussions, particularly on the role of media professionals in promoting accurate, ethical, and responsible journalism. Please join me in welcoming my president, Ms. Calistra Faria.
Good morning, Ms. Carolyn McQuilkin, Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of National Security, Home Affairs, Public Administration, Information and Disaster Management. Mr. Eric Fault, Regional Director of the Caribbean UNESCO, also representative to Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Aruba, and the rest of the grouping. Ms. Fiona Sandy, UN Country Coordinator for Grenada, UN Resident Coordinator's Office for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Mr. Jason Phillip, Director, Government Information Services. Ms. Keisha Jeleno, Secretary General, Grenada National Commission for UNESCO. And our worthy MC, Ms. Abigail McIntyre, as well as my colleagues and participants in the workshop. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Media Workers Association of Grenada, I am pleased to welcome you to this Media and Information Literacy Workshop, and particularly for those who are joining us from outside of Grenada, welcome to our country virtually. MWAG is pleased to be associated with an initiative that addresses an issue which has become increasingly important to the work we do as journalists, but also to the kind of society we are building. We live in an age in which information is everywhere, but reliable information may not be everywhere. A mobile phone gives almost anyone the ability to publish instantly, to reach hundreds or thousands of people, and potentially to influence public opinion. That has democratized communication in extraordinary ways. Voices that were once excluded can now be heard. Citizens can document events as they happen, and information can cross borders in seconds. But those same technologies have also created an environment in which misinformation, disinformation, manipulated images, misleading headlines, and completely fabricated stories can travel just as quickly and sometimes further than verified information. And we have been seeing and experiencing that. And now there's artificial intelligence that's making it easy to generate convincing texts, photographs, audio, and video. The challenge is becoming more complex, particularly for us journalists. The question before us, therefore, is no longer simply, do people have access to information? It is also, do they have the skills to determine what information they can trust? And trust has become a big word in this conversation of communications in this current world. And that's why media information literacy matters so much. It is the ability to question what we see and hear and read, to examine the source, to distinguish evidence from assertion and journalism from propaganda, to recognize manipulation, and importantly, to understand our own responsibility before we share information with someone else. We've been facing that a lot. People throw something up on the internet, on Facebook, and sometimes we are duped into believing that it is true information, it's convincing information. So it's so absolutely important that our members within MWAG guard against falling into traps like that. For those of us in the professional media, there's also another dimension. We cannot demand that the public become more discerning consumers of information while failing to demand the highest standards for ourselves as producers of information. Journalists must verify, we must provide context, we must correct errors. We must resist the pressure to sacrifice accuracy for speed. We don't have to be first, we have to be right. And substance for clicks and engagement. And we must understand that every time professional journalism gets it wrong, particularly when we get it wrong carelessly, we make it more difficult for the public to distinguish credible journalism from everything else competing for their attention. That relationship of trust is extremely important. At the Media Workers Association of Grenada, we have consistently argued that press freedom and press responsibility are not competing principles. They reinforce each other. And in fact, for this last year, that was our theme, press freedom and responsibility. A free media must be able to scrutinize governments, institutions, and people in positions of power without intimidation or interference. But the credibility with which we exercise that freedom depends heavily on the standards we bring to our work. Media and information literacy, therefore, cannot be regarded simply as something we teach school children or the wider public. It must also be part of the continuing professional development of journalists and media practitioners. And there is also a wider national conversation that I hope this workshop, a workshop such as this, will help us to advance. Media literacy should increasingly become part of how we prepare our young people for citizenship. Our children are growing up in an information environment fundamentally different from what many of us knew, certainly from what I knew. Telling them simply don't believe everything you see on the internet, that's no longer sufficient. We must equip them to ask, who created this? Why was it created? What evidence supports it? Can I verify it elsewhere? Is someone attempting to manipulate my emotions? And what responsibility do I have if I decide to share it? Those are not merely digital skills, really. They are skills that build strong citizens. They're also skills that build strong journalists. A society in which citizens can critically evaluate information is better equipped to participate in democracy, to hold institutions accountable, and to make informed decisions about issues affecting their lives. That is why UNESCO's continued leadership in media and information literacy is important, and why MWAG welcomes this opportunity for engagement here in Grenada. My hope is what begins in this room will not end when this workshop concludes, but it will continue, and that the broader program that UNESCO has undertaken will continue to serve the region quite adequately. Let us take the knowledge gained here into our newsrooms, our classrooms, our organizations, and our communities, and let's share it. Let us challenge one another, and let us recognize that strengthening media and information literacy is not the responsibility of any single institution. It requires journalists, educators, policymakers, civil society, technology platforms, and citizens themselves. The information landscape has changed. Our response must change with it. And so on behalf of MWAG, I thank UNESCO for facilitating this important engagement. And I welcome all of you who have committed your time in participating. And I wish you a productive and thought-provoking workshop. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Faria. The United Nations continue to play an important role in supporting countries across the Caribbean in advancing sustainable development, strengthening institutions, and promoting inclusive access to information and knowledge. We are pleased to have with us, as part of today's important engagement, Ms. Fiona Sandy, UN Country Coordinator for Grenada, UN Resident Coordinator's Office for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Sandy.
Ms. Carleen McQuilkin, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of National Security, Home Affairs, Public Administration, Information and Disaster Management. Mr. Eric Fault, Regional Director for the Caribbean, UNESCO, and representative to Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, Aruba, Bahamas, Barbados, well, CARICOM, and the other English-speaking and other Dutch-speaking islands of the Caribbean. Other UNESCO colleagues, other colleagues in government, other media colleagues and partners, good morning. I am happy to be here. Well, I was happy to be here when I came in. I'm now ecstatic because I heard disability inclusion mentioned. And I'm also the disability inclusion focal point for the United Nations, Barbados, and the Eastern Caribbean. It doesn't mean that I'm an expert. It just means that I have to remind my colleagues in the UN, I have to have conversations with the governments across Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean about how do we sleep, dream, think, and act with mainstreaming disability inclusion. Everything that we do. So I have an agenda, of course, as I mentioned. I get an opportunity to use this platform to speak about inclusion, human rights, and bringing those at risk of being left behind to the front. So let me begin by thanking UNESCO, GIS, and all partners for convening this important media and information literacy workshop. UNESCO's work in advocacy, education, knowledge exchange, meaningful communication can be linked to conflict resolution and international cooperation, building safe and secure spaces for people to interact, making this a timely platform for a broader conversation about how information literacy can strengthen social cohesion and advance rights locally, regionally, and globally. Earlier this year, I joined a CARICOM panel discussion for Grenada's commemoration of the ITU Girls in ICT Day. It was on AI in global development. My central thought then, as it is now, was this. While AI plays a central role in accelerating sustainable development, productivity, and innovation, it demands strong critical thinking, ethical engagement, and digital literacy. We heard some of the questions mentioned by Ms. Faria a few minutes ago. AI for whom? AI for what? Who governs these tools? Are persons with disabilities, young people, women and girls, meaningfully represented in the conversations, the standards and policies that shape AI governance? Even more importantly, or most importantly, how do we create access and applicability for Grenada and for small island developing states? More recently, the United Nations hosted a Youth and AI Summit at its headquarters in New York for International Youth Day. It highlighted the importance of youth voices in shaping AI governance, using AI to accelerate progress on the SDGs, and closing inclusion gaps. Next week, on Thursday, the 27th of August, a movement that began right here in Grenada will be launched virtually across the Caribbean through a campaign called the Higher Ability Campaign. It was designed and developed out of a UNESCO workshop on meaningful communication, meaningful engagement, and it was the architect of this particular project, this initiative, is Zinzi Noel, who is a youth with a disability. When UNESCO saw it, when we saw it, we said we have to take this and see how global, how viral we can make it. It is a call to everyone working in communication, technology, policy, and development to remove barriers wherever they appear, widen participation for those too often left out, and defend the dignity and rights of all people. All of this is why this workshop is taking place, and I hope that you champion this. I hope to see you all at the launch of this very important initiative. Let's go viral for promoting human rights. Its mantra, the theme, break barriers, embrace inclusion, champion rights. But breaking barriers is more than a tagline and about more than just persons with disabilities. It begins with asking, the hard questions, as we said. Questions that help citizens to engage more deeply and critically with the information placed before them. It also means placing human interest stories about real people, their lived experiences, challenges, achievements, and hopes, alongside the data and evidence-based policy, so that inclusion is understood not only as a principle, but as a lived reality that can shape public understanding and public action. Communication has immense power. The stories we tell, the voices we amplify, and the narratives we shape can either reinforce barriers or help dismantle them. They can worsen misunderstandings, or they can become part of the foundation for enhancing understanding and building stronger communities. While media professionals have a tremendous responsibility to educate, this is something we also heard from Ms. Faria, the responsibility is cross-cutting and belongs to all of us who shape public understanding. So as we commence this workshop on media and information literacy, I want to invite the participants to use this as more than a simple training opportunity. I urge you to use it as a platform to shape critical advocacy. Link your learnings to breaking barriers in how people access and understand information, to embrace inclusion for those voices usually unheard and underrepresented, and to champion the rights of all people, especially the vulnerable, marginalized, or those at risk of being left behind. I wish you a productive and enjoyable session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fiona Sandy. Our next speaker is Mr. Eric Falt, Regional Director of the UNESCO Regional Office for the Caribbean. UNESCO has long championed media and information literacy as an essential tool for empowering individuals to navigate today's rapidly changing information environment. Mr. Falt's participation underscores the importance of regional and international collaboration in strengthening media and information literacy across the Caribbean. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the screen as we hear from Mr. Eric Falt. Can I just get a signal if the speech is ready? The last speech? Okay, so we will just proceed with the program while our team sorts that out. And I would like to, okay, I got a signal.
Ms. Keisha Gelino, Secretary General, Grenada National Commission for UNESCO. Mr. Jason Phillip, Director, Government Information Services in Grenada. Ms. Calistria Farrier, President of the Grenada Media Workers Association. Ms. Fiona Sandy, UN Country Coordinator for Grenada. And dear media stakeholders across government, the private sector, academia, and civil society, both online and in Grenada. A pleasant good morning to all of you. While I cannot be with you face to face, it is certainly my great pleasure to join you virtually to commemorate the culmination of the efforts between the government of Grenada and the UNESCO Regional Office for the Caribbean for the organization of this workshop. And before I begin, I must first express my most profound appreciation to Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell for his role as chairman in leading the adoption of the UNESCO Caribbean AI Policy Roadmap, developed by the UNESCO Regional Office for the Caribbean at the 111th COTED meeting in July. This AI Policy Roadmap presents, as you may know, 4 pillars for policymakers and stakeholders to guide the design, use, and deployment of responsible, inclusive, human-centered, and ethical AI in the region. The pillars focus on Caribbean culture and creativity, governance and transformation, upskilling and education, and resilience and sustainability. The leadership of Prime Minister Mitchell on this initiative signals the forward-thinking nature of CARICOM on the importance of AI governance in the region. And as Regional Director for UNESCO in the Caribbean, I celebrate this milestone with you and look forward to our continued strong partnership on the advancement of digital transformation initiatives in Grenada and across the Caribbean community. As the world digitally advances, Caribbean countries must also rapidly digitally transform. And in alignment with this shift, Caribbean people must be upskilled and educated to remain professionally competitive, to protect their online safety, and to have an awareness of how technology is impacting the way we learn, live, play, and work in the modern world. Digital media and information literacy is the bridge between general competency and proficiency in the digital world. And that is why through SIM Caribbean, UNESCO has partnered with Caribbean governments in Antigua and Barbuda, in Grenada, and in St. Kitts and Nevis to upskill and educate stakeholders, including content creators, youth, older adults, educators with inclusive classrooms, and educators of students with disabilities on building their media and information literacy awareness and competencies. So today we add to this important work. To ensure comprehensive and inclusive outcomes in the journey towards media literate Caribbean citizens, a whole of society approach must be adopted. All media stakeholders, including the private sector, government, academia, and civil society workers, have a critical role to play in educating the public. The strengthening of media workers' digital media and information literacy competencies is therefore an accomplishment that all of society stands to benefit from. Digital transformation has also impacted the need for capacity building and service expansion in the media. The media landscape and media consumption patterns have evolved. Audience attention is now divided between traditional news sources and social media platforms, increasing the reach and engagement responsibilities of media workers. UNESCO, as the UN entity responsible for SDG 10.2, focuses specifically on access to information and emphasizes the importance of public access to information as a fundamental right. Media stakeholders, like you, form an important part of UNESCO's regional network and help to protect also the rights of citizens and should also remain safe in the execution of their duties. As such, connecting government and media partners is an essential bridge to good governance and healthy public-private partnerships. Over the next 2 days, you will be engaged by national Grenadian experts, UN colleagues, and regional development partners on how AI ethics, intellectual property rights, disability and gender equality, but also the economy, culture, health and mental health reporting, as well as global politics and international media, intersect with your work. Following this 2-day workshop, I trust that you will leave enriched and empowered to support UNESCO's mission to have more media literate citizens in Grenada and the Caribbean from a comprehensive and inclusive lens. As I close, I wish to recognize the Grenada Government Information Services and the Secretary General of the National Commission for UNESCO for their efforts. I also wish to recognize the multi-donor program for the freedom of expression and safety of journalists, which has financed the organization of all SIM Caribbean initiatives for further strengthening UNESCO's work with regards to its mandate on freedom of expression, media development, and media and information literacy in the Caribbean. I wish you all a successful 2 days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fault, for those important remarks and for UNESCO's continued support of initiatives aimed at strengthening media and information literacy in the region. Our final speaker for the opening ceremony is Ms. Carlin McQuilkin, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Home Affairs, Public Administration, Information, and Disaster Management. As Permanent Secretary, Ms. McQuilkin provides leadership at the senior administrative level within the public service, including areas directly connected to information and public administration. Her presence here today reflects the importance of collaboration among government, media, and other stakeholders in building a more informed and resilient society. Ladies and gentlemen, please join with me in welcoming Ms. Carlin McQuilkin.
Mr. Eric Fault, Regional Director, UNESCO Regional Office of the Caribbean, Ms. Fiona Sandy, United Nations Country Coordinator, Mr. Jason Phillip, Director of the Government Information Service, Ms. Keisha Gelino, Secretary General, Grenada National Commission for UNESCO, distinguished representatives of UNESCO and the United Nations system, representatives of government ministries, departments, and agencies, members of the Media Workers Association and our private media houses, panelists, presenters, educators, youth representatives, civil society organizations, development partners, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to everyone. It is both an honor and a privilege to join you today as we officially open this two-day UNESCO Media and Information Literacy and Media Stakeholder Engagement Workshop. Allow me first to express sincere appreciation to the UNESCO Regional Office for the Caribbean, the Grenada National Commission for UNESCO, the Government Information Service, and every partner whose vision and collaboration have made this important initiative possible. Today's gathering reflects something very important. It demonstrates that strengthening democracy, promoting informed citizenship, and preparing our people for an increasingly digital world cannot be achieved by governments alone. It requires partnerships. It requires trusted institutions. Most importantly, it requires informed and empowered citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living through one of the most significant communications revolutions in human history. Today, information reaches us instantly through television, radio, newspapers, websites, podcasts, messaging applications, and countless social media platforms. Artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming how content is created, distributed, and consumed. At the same time, misinformation, disinformation, manipulated content, and online hate speech have become global challenges that threaten public trust, democratic participation, and social cohesion. For small island developing states like Grenada, these challenges are especially significant. Our societies depend heavily on trusted information during times of national emergencies, public health crises, elections, natural disasters, and periods of economic uncertainty. When false information spreads more quickly than verified facts, it can undermine public confidence, place lives at risk, and weaken institutions. This is precisely why media and information literacy is no longer an optional skill. It has become an essential life competency. Media and information literacy equips individuals to think critically, verify information, distinguish fact from opinion, identify credible sources, understand how media is produced, recognize bias, and participate responsibly within our digital society. UNESCO has long championed these principles and continues to support Caribbean governments in strengthening digital competencies, advancing media and information literacy policies and curricula, and building more inclusive digital societies. Colleagues, the government of Grenada fully recognizes that digital transformation must be accompanied by digital responsibility. As government continues modernizing public administration and expanding digital public services, we must ensure that citizens possess the knowledge and confidence to safely navigate the digital environment. Within my ministry, we have seen firsthand how effective communication strengthens governance. Whether communicating during hurricanes, public emergencies, national development programs, or public policy initiatives, our responsibility extends beyond simply providing information. We must ensure that information is accurate, timely, accessible, and trusted. The Government Information Service continues to play a pivotal role in fulfilling that responsibility. Under its ongoing digital transformation program, GIS is evolving into a modern multi-platform communications institution capable of delivering credible, timely, and accessible information across television, radio, digital, and emerging technologies. This transformation supports government's broader objective of improving public engagement while strengthening resilience in national communications. However, government communication alone is not enough. The responsibility for building an informed society belongs to all of us. Journalists must continue to uphold professional ethics and accuracy. Educators must prepare young people with critical thinking skills. Public institutions must embrace transparency. Technology professionals must promote responsible innovation. Parents must encourage healthy digital habits. Citizens themselves must become discerning consumers and responsible creators of information. That is why I am particularly pleased that this workshop brings together such a diverse cross-section of stakeholders from government, private media, academia, youth organizations, civil society, international agencies, and development partners. The program reflects this collaborative approach through discussions on journalism, ethics, artificial intelligence, digital transformation, intellectual property, disability inclusion, gender equality, health reporting, culture, and multi-sector engagement over the course of the 2 days. Ladies and gentlemen, as technology evolves, so too must our understanding of ethics. Artificial intelligence presents tremendous opportunities for improving public services, journalism, education, and economic development. Yet, it also raises important questions concerning transparency, accountability, privacy, intellectual property, and human oversight. As policymakers, communicators, and media professionals, we must ensure that technological advancement always remains guided by ethical principles and respect for human dignity. This workshop, therefore, comes at a particularly appropriate moment. It allows us not only to discuss today's challenges, but also to prepare ourselves for those that lie ahead. I encourage every participant to approach these 2 days with curiosity, openness, and a genuine willingness to learn from one another. Ask difficult questions. Share your experiences. Challenge assumptions. build new partnerships. And when you leave here, become ambassadors for media and information literacy within your own organizations and communities. If each participant returns home committed to improving how information is created, verified, shared, and understood, then this workshop will have achieved far more than its agenda suggests. Ladies and gentlemen, the Caribbean has always demonstrated resilience. We have overcome natural disasters, economic challenges, and global crises by working together. The digital age presents another opportunity for regional collaboration. Through initiatives such as UNESCO's Small Island Developing States, Inclusive Initiative on Media and Information Literacy, Caribbean nations are building stronger institutions, empowering educators and youth, supporting media organizations, and advancing inclusive digital societies. Grenada is proud to be among the participating member states contributing to this regional effort. As Permanent Secretary, I reaffirm the Government of Grenada's commitment to supporting initiatives that strengthen responsible communication, promote informed public participation, enhance digital inclusion, and contribute to resilient democratic institutions. Our investment in media and information literacy is ultimately an investment in our people. An informed citizen is an empowered citizen. An empowered citizen strengthens communities, and strong communities build resilient nations. In closing, allow me once again to congratulate UNESCO, the Grenada National Commission for UNESCO, the Government Information Service, and every stakeholder involved in organizing this timely and meaningful workshop. I wish all participants every success over the next 2 days. May your discussions be insightful. May your partnerships be strengthened. And may the knowledge shared here to benefit Grenada and the wider Caribbean for many years to come. It is now my distinct pleasure to officially declare the 2026 UNESCO Media and Information Literacy and Media Stakeholder Engagement Workshop open. Thank you, and may God continue to bless you all and Grenada. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McQuilkin, for your remarks and for your contribution to today's ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our opening ceremony. I would like to thank all of our speakers and partners, our media stakeholders, and everyone joining us virtually for being a part of this important engagement. At this time, we would end the opening ceremony, but please remain in your seats for some important announcements as the workshop progresses. Thank you to all of viewers online.